Hello and welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. Today I'm going to introduce you to the xTool heat press. Now they are calling this the xTool Smart Press, and I have the all-in-one kit. So that includes the heat press itself that's sort of like an easy press. It includes a mini press, and then it includes a stand, which I'm going to show you how to use, and that makes this kit way different from anything else that I've seen on the market. The stand is going to allow you to apply pressure without actually holding down like you have to do with something like the Easy Press. So I am excited to review this one. The kit also comes with a mat, so a heat resistant mat that I will be using to press my projects. And I'm going to make several projects. I'm going to do some HTV, some sublimation, as well as press a DTF print. Now xTool did send me this press for my review. However, all projects and opinions are my own. Now I'm going to start with just the press. So we're just going to use the Smart Press with the heat resistant mat. It does have an external control panel, so I'm going to show you how to set that up. We're going to do that first. So press just using this heat press, just to see what it's like if you just want to hold down on this heat press so you have a quick project and want to use it similarly to the way you would use the Cricut Easy Press. So let's take a look at how to do that. The first thing that you will notice is this press has no buttons. There's no control panel, there are no buttons. The back of the press is where you will add your power cord. So just add your power cord into place. Next you have a receiver that is for the control panel, and you'll just plug that into place. Now this is to use the receiver wirelessly. The control panel itself is separate, so it's a separate piece, and you plug it in to charge it. However, it does run off of batteries. You'll use the slider on the back to slide it into the on position. There's also a Celsius and Fahrenheit indicator on the back, and you will change that to whichever one you would like to use. Go ahead and plug the press in, and then we're going to pair the controller with the receiver. Once you plug your heat press in, the receiver should have a solid blue light. We're going to hold the button down for about 3 seconds, and then you will have a blinking blue light. Then go ahead and turn on the control panel using that switch on the back, and we're going to hold this button down for 3 seconds. It should give you a blinking indicator in the corner of the display. Once that indicator stops blinking, and this is blinking slowly, so the indicator on here should blink slowly, this should not be blinking, then the two are paired. Then you just turn the knobs to adjust the time and the temperature. So turn them up and down to adjust the time and the temperature that you would like. The knob on this side does have presets. So there are 4 presets, A, B, C, and D. So you would just press this button to toggle through those. You can also go to one of these. So say I would go to B. Then I could turn the dial and set a different time and temperature, then hold this button down for 3 seconds to replace the time and temperature on the preset. So you can dial in your own presets. You can charge the controller at any time with the cable that comes with it. Just plug the cable into the back of the control panel. So when I opened the box, it was charged, so we can go ahead and use it. There is a battery indicator in the corner, so you can always check to see if it's charged before you start using your press. So I'm going to set this at 325 degrees for 15 seconds, and we're going to try a DTF transfer with just the Smart Press as well as the heat resistant mat. Once you have your desired time and temperature set on the control panel, you want to press the power button to actually turn the press on. Once you turn the press on, it will start heating up. As it's heating up, the control panel will read out exactly what it is heated to. So you can watch this to see how close you are to it being heated to the temperature you want. The press itself is 10 inches by 12 inches, and the mat is slightly larger than the press. The mat is also fairly firm, so it is firmer than a Cricut Easy Press mat, which I like that feature. As your press is heating up, this light will be orange. Once it turns green and you hear that noise, then the press is heated up and you're ready to press. So I'm just going to do a tote bag for my example here, add it to my mat, preheat the surface a little bit. Then I'm just adding my DTF print to that surface. I'm going to set the press in place, and then you need to hit this button once on this control panel to start your countdown. And then for this example, I'm going to press down on the press manually. We will take a look at the stand later in this video. Once it's done, it will beep. You can lift the press up. I like to peel my DTF cool, so I am going to cool it off a little bit with a DTF cooling block, and then we can just peel that carrier sheet back, and this looks so good. Pressed the DTF perfectly. For DTF, I like to do a post press, so I'm going to add another piece of fabric on top of here and just post press about 5-10 seconds. Then peel that fabric back and my project is complete. So now that we've used this press by itself, let's use the mini press by itself. This mini press is a little bit unique because you can use the button on the front to do like a low, medium, high type setting, or you can connect this to that control panel that we just used for the smart press. You can connect the control panel to the mini and get an exact time and temperature on your mini. Now this is a feature that I'm very excited about because not a ton of mini presses have that feature where you can set an actual time and temperature. Plus this one is a little bit larger than something like the Cricut Easy Press Mini, so it's a very versatile little small press that'll be super handy in your craft room. So let's make something with just this press next. So to use the mini just as it is, you would just press the button on the front. One press turns it on, a second press would go to level 2, third press level 3, one more press turns it off. When you have it, say on level 1, the indicator will light up and it will beep once the press has heated up to temperature. Now let's say that I wanted to use it with the control panel instead. I wanted to set an exact time and temperature. There is another receiver included in the all-in-one kit. So you get 2 receivers, one for the press we just went over and one for this mini press. I went ahead and cycled through, turn this press off. We're going to turn it to the back and you'll see a little access point in the back of the handle. Just reach in and pull that out. Then you can add the receiver into the handle. Once you have that in place, you should see a solid blue light on top of the receiver. We'll go ahead and turn on the control panel, press the button on the receiver for 3 seconds. Should be flashing blue. And then again, you would press the button on the controller for 3 seconds. Should flash in the corner. Once it's connected, it should be solid in the corner and blinking slowly on the receiver. Now these two are paired and I can go ahead and turn this up. So I want to press this at 385. So I'm going to set this at 385 degrees for 90 seconds. Then I'll just turn the press on. And now that it's paired, it will start heating up. And again, the readout on the screen will tell you exactly what temperature it's at so you can watch it heat up. I'm going to make some sublimation earrings as my example project. First, I'll remove the protective coating from both sides. Once the press is heated up, the light will turn green and it will beep. I'm going to sublimate just one side of these for illustration purposes. We're going to clean them well. Add them to a sublimation print. So these are sublimation blanks and this is a sublimation print. So it's sublimation ink printed on sublimation paper from a sublimation printer. Then I'm going to use heat resistant tape to tape those into place. And I'm going to add protective paper on the top as well as the bottom. I just want to say here that this press is large enough to cover both of these at once. So I'm going to do them both at once. If it was not, I could do them one at a time, but I do recommend for sublimation for the press itself to cover the entire sublimation surface. In order to make sure I do that while everything is covered up, I like to trim around these pretty close. That way I can get a better idea when it's under the mini that I have the entire thing covered. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this up. Then I'm going to press the button on the control panel to start the countdown for the time. Now this you will need to apply your own pressure. So press down with the recommended pressure for whatever sublimation blank you're using. The time and the temperature should also be for whatever sublimation blank you're using, which is why I like using the control panel so I can set a very precise time as well as temperature. Once time's up, it will beep and you can remove it. Then I recommend some heat resistant gloves to start peeling that back. You can take a look and see if it's sublimated well. If it didn't, you can apply this back and press again. It looks like these both did okay, so I'm going to go ahead and peel back my sublimation print and you can see just how gorgeous these turned out. So now I would just need to assemble the earrings. So yes, sublimation is possible even with that small little press. Now that we've used both the smart press as well as the little mini press, let's add the smart press to the stand and see what features the stand adds. Now I do want to say that I assembled some portions of the stand before starting the filming of this video. I inserted 4 screws. I added this top portion as well as the 2 legs. The assembly portion is very easy, takes about 5 minutes. Now the addition of the press onto the stand we are going to cover in this video. So I'm going to show you how to add the press to the stand how to operate the stand, and then we're gonna make some projects using this stand as well. So let's dive in. Now we can use the stand. As I mentioned, I added this portion as well as the 2 legs off of the video. It is literally 4 screws, very, very simple. Now we're gonna add the press itself. So first of all, the heat resistant mat just goes onto this base. So you can just set it onto the base itself. On top of the press, there's a cover and there's an arrow in one corner. If you just press down on that arrow, the cover will just pop off. And then you'll just add this piece into that groove so it just fits down into the groove. Then there are just 4 screws to secure it into place. So add all 4 of those screws and tighten them. Once you have the bracket attached to the top of the press, it's time to put it on the stand. Now, this mat sort of gets in the way to me, so I move it off. The bracket itself aligns with slots on this portion of the stand. So all you do is line those up and just slide this into place. You want it to slide all the way back. So you might have heard that it slid all the way back into place. There isn't anything else you need to do. You just slide that back into place. Now there is a cord loop on the back of this for the cord itself. So I like to just wrap mine around and put it on this back portion. Now we can move this base because we don't need it anymore, right? Like this is a self-standing unit. The press itself operates in the same manner as before, so you can still use the control panel in the same way to get the time and temperature. Now we can slide our mat back into place. When we're ready to put whatever we want to press inside, we can just swing this out of the way. Put whatever we want inside and swing it back into place. It will swing away on both sides. So you will need space for the press itself to swing. And then once you have everything loaded, you'll just use this handle to press down. Now, you might be able to tell that that wasn't a ton of pressure. There is a pressure control knob here. And if you want to lower the press, you turn it clockwise. Raising the press is counterclockwise. And it does say that right on the arm for this press. So I can lower it, and then when I press this down, it will apply more pressure. If I raise it, when I press this down, it would apply less pressure. You would also raise and lower it depending on the thickness of your blank. When I get this really low, it almost hits this mat, so you can't really go all the way down. However, when I get down, it really does apply quite a bit of pressure. So this stand will apply the pressure for you, whereas with the press by itself, when I made that first project, I had to apply the pressure with the handles myself, and now the stand will do that for you. So now I'm gonna go ahead and heat the press up, and we're gonna make a few projects with this. So I have the mat in place, and I just added my shirt to the mat. Now I do think threading the shirt on would be difficult with this press, so I do have the collar up at the top. There's not a ton of room at the throat to put excess material when you're doing something big and bulky like a hoodie or something like that. So I'm gonna pre-press for just a few seconds. Now this doesn't automatically start the timer, so when I flip this handle down, the timer does not start. I'm gonna go ahead and line up this HTV into location. And then I have the time and temperature set on here, so I'm doing 315 degrees for 30 seconds for this brand of HTV. Just going to swing the press over, and I'm going to close the handle. I have a medium to light pressure, and then I do have to press the button on the control panel to start the countdown. When the press closes, it does not start that countdown. It'll beep when it's done. You can lift this up, swing it out of the way. Now this is a cold peel HTV, so I'm just using my DTF cooling block to cool it off. And for some HTV products, depending on the brand you use, you might want to press from the back. So I would just flip this over and press from the back as well. This is cool, we can just peel back the carrier sheet. I'm gonna make a sublimation shirt this time, and I'm gonna make a kid size shirt. So I wanted a variety of sizes of projects as well as a variety of types for this video. So we're gonna do a kid size shirt. Swing this over, preheat. I will say the cord, if you don't have it in that clamp well and it keeps coming out of this clamp in the back, it does get in the way. So you might have to keep adjusting that. We're gonna lint roll this shirt off, and I'm gonna add protective paper on the inside. Add my sublimation print, sublimation ink on sublimation paper with a sublimation printer, adding it with heat tape, and this is a polyester shirt. I cover it with protective paper across the top. Then you'll want to swing this press back into location. So this is what I was talking about getting it too low. So you wouldn't want it too low because you have all this bulk here that you need to swing it over the top of it. I did adjust the time and temperature for sublimation, so I have this at 385 degrees for 55 seconds. And then we can just swing this over and close. Again, you'll have to press the button on the controller to start the time. Once the time's up, just swing that out of the way. And we can just peel that sublimation print back. So I'm going to make a few other projects and then show you some results using this xTool heat press. So now let's take a look at some results. This is the first project we made. It was the DTF print. It turned out great. Next up were these sublimation earrings with that mini press. Again, these did really, really well. I did only sublimate on one side, but a double-sided sublimation is definitely possible, and you would just repeat the same steps on the opposite side. Then we went to the press on the stand. The first project was with HTV and it turned out perfectly. Then I went to sublimation, and again, this looks really, really great. This shirt is significantly smaller than the other one and they both pressed great. I then did a can koozie for a smaller sublimation project and it looks great as well. I did a ceramic coaster for a thicker project and it turned out gorgeous. Then finally I wanted to test something that required heavy pressure. So I did a puff HTV and I pressed this Beach Essentials first without the square, just testing it out. And I do get like this brain looking appearance. So it really did not apply enough pressure. So I tried some different things, did some different hacks that I thought might work with this press and did some like test swatches. I never did get a really great looking puff product out of this press. So I do think things with heavy pressure you might have issues with, even if you use the stand. So now that you've seen me make a few projects, let's talk about the pros and cons of the xTool heat press. So first of all, the pros. With the ability to put this heat press on this stand, you really free up your hands. A lot of the pressing with something like the Cricut Easy Press, a lot of the time is spent pressing down. And that is time you could frankly spend doing something else. So with light, medium pressure items, I think the stand works great and it frees up your hands to do something else while the press does its job. I do love the external control panel actually because it's just very handy to have that external piece. And I absolutely love that this also works with this mini press, and I can set an exact time and temperature on the mini press to use for those smaller sublimation projects. That's probably one of my favorite parts of this control panel is that it works with both of these pieces. So one control panel, this mini and this smart press both work with this external control panel. So one control panel operates both, just like I showed you in this video. Now the press itself, when you're using it off the stand, has two handles for you to really get some even pressure and really press down. I do like that. I like that better than the single handle across the middle. And then this heat resistant mat is firmer than the Easy Press mat, which I like. It's not quite as firm as something like my Artist Spray mat, but it is firmer and I do like the firmness of the mat itself. Now let's talk about some of the cons. I did find that the press on this stand didn't really apply heavy pressure. So if you're looking for a press that would do heavy pressure, I don't think this is going to be the right press for you. And just generally a con, you would need space to allow the press to swing out and away. So it does take up more space than say a clamshell press, which opens up. And then I would have liked something to hold this mat still. I find that it moves too much. The press hits it sometimes, or I hit it, and it moves off the base. So I would have liked something to hold this more still. That might be a personal preference, but I would like something to hold it more still. And I did mention within the video that you want to make sure that this cord is on the clamp in the back, just because the cord does get in the way when it's on this stand itself. So another con is I would say that you would need to have this control panel charged before you start using this press. And then I will say another con for me is the charging cord for that was super, super short. So I thought that maybe this should have been a little bit longer, but the charging cable definitely works for the controller. And it does seem like the battery on the controller lasts a long time, so you probably don't need to worry about it too much as far as charging, but it is kind of a con that you would need to make sure that this is charged up. If you lose the charge, you would need to charge it before you could continue with your project. Otherwise, this is a super simple press to set up and use. The instructions that were included with it were perfect for the setup process. I loved that it had an adjustable pressure. I loved that it was super easy to use. Even with a heavy pressure, I was able to really swing this arm down. So this arm itself was very convenient for swinging down. So overall, a really great press, and you really can't go wrong with it. Just consider the pros and cons in this video, and you can see the projects I made and see if this press will work within your craft room. And if you are going to purchase this press, I do recommend that all-in-one bundle, just because you get the stand, the heat press, the mat, as well as the mini, and then that control panel. So then you can do all of the features that I talked about in this video if you get that all-in-one kit. Now I will link to all of the products I used in the description below this video, as well as the files. So head there and grab those files, click to learn more about this press or to purchase. And you can also ask any questions in the comment section below this video. So if you have questions about this press, go ahead and ask them there. If you like this video helped you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.